Rolling back into SanDisk and Micron are the overall markets in here today, up around 8% on the day for SanDisk, about 4% for Micron. We were trading up near those mid 1900s in here in SanDisk, although we had that big kind of pullback towards close for Micron and SanDisk. So for SNDK in here, we ended the day about 1858. That is going to be the whole area that we're watching going into tomorrow. So depending on where we're gapping up or gapping down, that's going to be either our first floor or our first ceiling that we're gonna need to breach either way, right? So this lower trend line in here on the weekly chart, we're right on it. So we're kind of hanging on by a thread here, stick save in here. But if we get a nice clean hold of this tomorrow, then perhaps we're looking good as we're going into next week. But if not, then kind of look out below, because then we have to figure out where we're going to consolidate at in here. To the upside, 1980 is going to be a major resistance, although we need to watch out those that mid 1900 area that we mentioned earlier today, just because that is kind of where everything kind of topped out today. Although I think there was other factors and other correlations that were involved with that. So I don't think today's high was a technical level and a technical sell-off. I think there's a lot of other things that had to do with that, but I think the first major resistance that we really need to worry about technically on the chart in here for especially the weekly chart is going to be that 1980. Above 1980, you obviously are going to be looking at that 2000 level, and then above there, you're looking at 2100. To the downside in here, what are we focusing on? Well, 1738 is where our 9-day EMA is trading at. That is going to be a place that we are going to look to see if we can set up shop or not, if we do get a larger pullback outside of this overall structure. And then anything below there, nothing's really saving us until you get all the way down here to this $1,600 level. Now, your RSI in here is still relatively elevated in here. We're at 67, although we did get a pullback the past few weeks have helped in there with the overall pullback that we got ever since Micron had its earnings. As far as our implied volatility goes, for SanDisk, obviously everything was on the call side in here. So every time you did get a move in here in implied volatility, it's going to expand to the upside, because that's where your call skew was. That's where your risk is. When you get a pullback, the implied volatility contracts just a little bit. But right now, our IV rank in here sitting at 95. You got about $112 expected move priced in by tomorrow's expiration. Let's see what happens in here as we continue throughout this week and kind of close out this weekly candle and see where are we going to close at tomorrow as compared to our 1858 level. Micron, sort of the same thing in here. We're just kind of hanging on by a thread with that lower trend line. That 9-day EMA might save us if we do get a breakout below this lower trend line and our major supports in here. But we're going to see if this 1980 is going to hold up for us in here. It's going to be right here with that lower trend line. That is going to be an area that we do need to hold to the upside in here. To 1012, and then we're looking at 1089. Outside of that, basically, we're looking at 1100, and we're going to leave it at that. You got about a $50 expected move in here, so we're going to have a lot of key levels for us on the table in here to the upside. To the downside in here, nothing's really stopping us below 1981 besides that 981, besides that 927 all the way down here at that 9-day EMA, right? So anything outside of that, we are going to be looking at the 864 and then that 818 level. But that $50 expected move, you have more key levels to the upside that we need to worry about than to the downside, right? So to the downside in here, that $50 move, that doesn't even take into consideration our 9-day EMA sitting at that 927 area. So we have to be careful in here. We have a lot of call skew, but remember, just because we got a pop in here, now are we going to reverse course in here? So beforehand, this whole run up right here. So if you go all the way back starting in March, every time we had a dip, everybody was buying the dip in Micron, and then SanDisk kind of came along with it, right? Now, are we going to reverse course? Is everyone going to be selling off every single top in here until we kind of revert all the way back to our mean in here? That is going to be the question. That's what it looks like it's going to do for that's what it has been doing ever since you had that big earnings pop. But let's see if we're going to continue or we're going to break that pattern up and then hold this lower trend line in here, and then kind of worry about kind of going forward next week and seeing where things are going to shake out at. So all in all, everybody kind of rolled back into Micron and SanDisk today. So that is good for us in here, but let's see what kind of volatility everything brings for us tomorrow. Let's look at our overall market correlations, because there for a while we were correlating with the Qs, then we weren't, then we were. So we kind of have to be aware of what's happening with the NASDAQ, with the SPOOs, as we're looking at both of these stocks. But overall, nice move in here. Good day for the good kids. Let's see what happens as we continue out this week and end in tomorrow's trading session. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you are interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.